On this episode of Cigars and Sea Stories, Bennett and Mike are sitting down to talk about military attire in popular culture. I say attire, but I also mean, like, it's like the haircuts and all of the other things,
even
too.
like gear. Even gear.
I mean, my opinion, for what it's worth, is whatever. That's cool. That's fine. You know what I mean? I mean, 9 times out of 10, they're not in regulation uniform.
Why would they?
It would be a problem if, they were walking around in, like, woodland cammies in L.A. or something. Well, I bring it up because, Shia LaBeouf did, I can't remember the name of the movie that he did. But he was
Man Down or something like that?
Yeah. Anyway, I haven't seen it yet or anything. Adam Bird over at Heroes Media Group on the Decision Hour. I think it was the Decision Hour.
Yes, it was.
He interviewed him. And it was funny. He just kind of like came up in the feed. But there are these, I threw him into the Google machine like Shia LaBeouf military boots. And sure as shit, he's trouncing around in a pair of Bates. It's like some skinny jeans tucked into his socks or some shit like that. Whatever. It's
let me put it this way. So there's a guy who did, I can't remember his actual name. But, when I living in Wilmington, it's a very, there's a huge movie studio there. Screen Gems is down there, plus some other things. So there's a lot of actors that come in and out of Wilmington and that little ass airport that they have there.
Yeah.
And I was on a flight. I was laid over in Philadelphia, and, Philadelphia has the tiniest little freaking waiting areas for their gates in any giant airport that I've ever seen. There's like 12 seats.
Right. It's like them in Detroit.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Right.
There's maybe like 30 seats, let's say. Well, there's 100 people on this fucking plane, and then you wonder why people can't walk down the concourse, because every fucking gate's spilling out into the concourse. But anyway.
Oh yeah, of course.
So I'm there early because there's a layover, and I'm sitting next to a guy. I'm like, dude, I fucking know this guy, and I don't know why. Because we're headed back to Wilmington. And I don't know why. He's got a military backpack with 101st tab on it, like 101st Velcro, the Screaming Eagle on the freaking Velcro.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. He had a hat on too. And we're sitting there, and I'm looking at him like, dude, I know this fucking guy. I know him from somewhere. And I think his name is Patrick Wilson. He did that. He did one of those movies. He was like the bad guy in the A-Team. Turns out that he was the bad guy in the A-Team, and he's done a bunch of other movies too.
Insidious.
Insidious, I think, is one of them. A couple horror movies and yada yada yada. Right, pretty good actor.
Right on.
But yeah. I'm like, it's not clicking that he's an actor, and I'm like, so who are you with? Because he's got all this shit. Like, were you in the military? And he's like, no, I got this stuff from a movie I did. I'm an actor. And like guys that the military contractors and stuff that they worked with, like, gave him stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, what the regardless, whatever. It doesn't matter. But it's like we were talking about the day with hipsters and their tattoos and their beards. Just throws your shit off. Sometimes you just don't know.
Right.
Because it's become such a lot of things, like especially backpacks, things like that have become, and hats especially, have become like a staple in civilian culture, that they, some people have either some sort of military affiliation with family members or whatever, or their jobs, or, stuff like that.
And it's not like it's stolen valor or anything.
No, not at all. That's not the point.
There's no issue with
crazy.
It. Right. It's just, it's funny. I guess, truth be told, it's a little odd, you've seen guys for the longest time rocking like tricolor cutoff cammies that have been cut off into shorts. You know what I mean? Like, those are the first cargo shorts.
It's like their uncle's fucking old BDUs from 1980, or their dad, or whatever.
And so that tricolor has always been the motif,
it's
just
the
for
motif
so long.
Of being basically the motif of badass.
Right.
Because if you're rocking tricolor shit, you're probably a little bit old school. Just saying. Not that it was better. Not that it's better. I'm just saying.
Well, but I saw it.
You're looking at an era, kind of.
So, like, here's how you know that it's firmly throughout our culture, is the guy who's, like, cutting grass is in cut-off cammies. kind of. Actually, I saw guys that were out and they were wearing no shit Marine Corps trousers.
Well, what's the I wore them, but I can't remember what they're called. The desert before the ones that have like pink in them, for fuck's sake.
Not the chocolate chip, but the other ones.
Not the chocolate chip, the other ones. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
What the fuck are they called? There's a name. They're like tricolored.
I should know this because we have a uniforms book that released through Blood Stripes.
I only wore the fucking things for a year too. So
well, go to bloodstripes.com. No, I don't know if we've written an article on there.
We didn't write about that shit. But yeah, everyone should. Everyone knows.
You should write it on Blood Stripes.
Everyone knows what the fuck I'm talking about. Right?
Yeah.
So one of my neighbors, he's a veteran as well, and that's like what he mows his lawn in.
Yeah.
He rocks the either tricolors or those desert and freaking. He was in the Army, and I'm trying to remember what type of boot he wears, but it's basically like the Danner Matterhorn, you know, big, thick sole. They're not wrap boots, but they're like that. But the big, you know, chunky, fucking awesome ass work boots, basically.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I have a pair of wrap boots that I do that shit in.
Yep,
it's fucking awesome.
It's the only thing wrap boots are good for.
You're not getting fucked up. Yeah, you're not getting fucked up anywhere. You're not stepping on anything that's gonna fuck you up, and nothing's falling on you that's gonna fuck your feet up because that shit's hardcore. But those things, man, and like when it comes to combat operations, yeah, I could see. Go fuck yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Those things are like running in lead boots, man.
Well, and it was funny because I saw who's the other actor who did he wrote, oh god, I can't remember the guy's name. He's with Jennifer Aniston, Theroux, Justin Theroux.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? He wrote Tropic Thunder. He was one of the creators on that.
Amazing movie.
Fucking hilarious movie.
I don't give a fuck what anyone says.
He is an avid motorcycle enthusiast. And I would love to go riding with that guy because none of his bikes are clean. And that's like my motorcycle is never clean. I leave it out in the rain every once in a while and then dry her off, you know, but my motorcycle is always dirty because I ride it and I don't clean it and look at it. I ride the shit out of it. and I was looking, you know, military boots on actors kind of a deal, and he was rocking the exact same baits as what I like, those thick-soled, they're like tanker or like air winger baits that have the steel toe. And normally on the newer, like on the newer baits or anything that you're getting out of the PX these days, it's got that suede material to it. You know what I'm talking about? Almost like that fuzz to it. And what I like about these baits is they get smooth all the way across. You know, all of that suede is gone within the first couple of weeks that you use it, and it's like this smooth material that goes all the way around the entire boot. And I love the shit out of those boots. I had 2 different pair of them from my deployments, and what I did when I EAS'd actually was tied one from one deployment, one from the other deployment, like Iraq and Afghanistan, and those were the ones that I threw over the line. And then I gave my parents the other pair of boots. But every once in a while I think about wearing them, I'm like, fuck, maybe I shouldn't have given those boots away. God, love those fucking boots. But the steel
pair of the green jungles.
Yeah. You were talking about with the black sole and the black nose on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was all leather and then it had the green upper.
Right.
You don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't have a pair anymore, but I used to. Yeah.
That was the shit back in the day. I mean, the problem, I mean, let's be honest. It's kind of cool and it's really cool that the military decided to not play polished boot game anymore, because we used to like spit shine our boots and shit. Like we'd have a pair of green Ultimas and we'd spit shine those motherfuckers. Like that's almost like, it's goddamn ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
but
for sure.
But we fucking did it. Fuck.
We don't even iron cammies anymore.
No, I know. I remember, oh my God, that shit was like, that's what you did on Sunday. Like you got your uniforms ready for the week and spit on your boots and all that shit.
Yeah.
That's what you did on Sunday, getting ready for your fucking week if you were in garrison.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you had 2 separate types of uniforms. You know, you had field uniforms and you had garrison uniforms. And you usually had like 2 or 3 garrisons and 2 or 3 field, and holy hell. And then you would just get on that rotation.
And it's right. Well, and I know exactly what you're talking about because I was one of those guys where I was in base housing, but I had my wall locker essentially with all of it was like the guest closet had all the same uniforms set up, identical.
Right.
However they wanted it in the barracks, that's literally how I set it up in my home. Like, no shit. And so I could put on whatever was needed prior to. So that was the other thing is in 29 Palms, because we had off-base housing and other things, like you weren't calling a spot inspection for alphas. You were not just all of a sudden everybody needs to be out here in their Charlies. Everybody needs to be out here. You're just not going to do that. Probably mainly because it's 29 Palms, and we're too busy training instead of doing some of that shit. But we definitely needed to have all of our uniforms ready because we had uniform inspections, of course. But
yeah, of course.
Which it's funny too because hanging in the closet, I've got my alphas. And I've got my dress blues, right? I still have those. And they're just, taking up room in the back of the closet. Well, yeah, anyway, you can see them. But it's funny, though, because we were talking about in popular culture. And, like, 50 Cent caught a lot of shit for wearing dress blues, like a dress blues coat or whatever. Who was the other guy I don't really give a fuck if you go out and buy a dress blues coat.
I don't give a fuck what you're wearing. I just don't care.
Right. The only time that I ever would have a problem with any of that stuff is if you literally just put on the uniform and were wearing it as if you were in the military.
Yeah, that's like, yes, and I agree, but that doesn't really happen. I mean, it does with fucking crazy people and stolen valor motherfuckers. But other than that, yeah, it doesn't really happen.
I was a little pissed off when Under Armour did the Iwo Jima Memorial into like a fucking basketball hoop or some shit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. I know what you mean.
But that's happened umpteen times. I mean, numerous other companies have used that in other ways. But it's like, no. You can make that multicolored and Andy Warhol it and do whatever, but don't bastardize it, you fucks. You know what I mean? Anyway.
I do.
Anyway. Dude, and you see guys rocking like the green. I think that it's funny that it's in popular culture because I'm the guy where it's like if I saw you wearing a USMC green shirt and you didn't have the haircut and like the stupid, fucking tan line where your 8-point goes.
Yeah. That's
right. You know what I'm talking about? You're like, yes, oh yeah, for sure. That guy.
I hate that shit.
And it makes, and like I was always the guy who rocked sunglasses, so it made an arrow right on my temple and was like, right. Yeah. I told guys, I'm like, this way to Libo, this way.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
God.
So
Dear
unless,
God.
So unless, his hands are extraordinarily tan, but he's got like the sleeves pulled up and they're bare. Maybe there's some sort of tattoo, God knows. And yeah, when you see that guy, you're like, yep, and he's rocking his, PT sweatshirt and stuff out in town. All right, I get it. I kind of get it. You're home on leave or doing something like that. Totally understand. You see some dude who looks like me wearing that. He's not a veteran. That's not a vet. You want to know why I know that?
Yeah.
Because we're not going to fucking wear that shit. We're just not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sport my dress blues like a piece of flair. Not going to. I know that guy is not a veteran.
No. How about fucking boots that wear, like when they're at SOI, that wear shit out into town?
Oh, you mean like they're jungle boots out in town?
Yeah. I'm saying boots or cherries or whatever the fuck you want to call them that wear like their web belt because they don't have a regular belt.
Oh yeah.
Or they're like it's like the cherry fucking uniform. You got a green t-shirt on with blue jeans, your web belt, and a pair of combat boots on. Like, bro, what the fuck are you wearing? And they have that ridiculous tan line like you were just talking about, and a high and tight. And you're like, oh, fuck. Like, people that take advantage of fucking Marines and soldiers in towns like that are like, oh, here comes the fucking... The cheddar, what the fuck, man?
Oh, they're waiting for that kid. They're waiting.
Funny as fuck,
dude. Yeah. Well, and again, it's like it's so funny because when I go around out in Raleigh, I don't really see it all that often in Raleigh. Don't get me wrong; it's more of a West Coast thing, I think. But seeing a guy who's just sporting some sort of like piece of military clothing, you know, or like rocking a high and tight because they think it's cool, you will more than likely, unless the guy is like supermoto locked on or, you know, became a cop or something like that, like has another reason to have a short haircut like that, right? Like it makes perfect sense if you're a cop to rock a high and tight, especially if you're working like, I don't know, fucking Detroit or something like that. I get it. You're actually fighting with people all the time. But it's just so funny to me because, you know, when you look at him, you're like, that guy's not a veteran. I get it. You think we're cool, and so you kind of like want to play off some of those different things, and that's totally fine because frankly we are fucking cool, but you can just tell that human being is not a veteran. You know, I get a chuckle out of it because it's one of those things where, and I've done this before, I'll ask somebody, I'm like, hey man, I like your boots. Where'd you get those? And he's like, oh yeah. I picked those up at, you know, like Salvation Army or Goodwill or something like that. And it's like, okay, that's cool. You know, I have asked the guy before, like, I like your boots. Where'd you get those? And he's like, the main exchange. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Okay,
right.
That's not the right answer, but like, I know who I'm dealing with at least. You know, oh yeah, I got those at the main exchange a long time ago. I'm like, no shit, where at? What post? What camp? What base? What are we talking about here? It's funny. You can... You know, and then you can peg the fellow veterans that are in popular culture as well, because when you see a fellow vet that's out there, typically you'll see, you know, some other sort of t-shirt or something along those lines. But every once in a while, we'll kind of throw it in a different direction, I guess you could say. You know, it's like we've got the combat bracelets and, you know, we've brought into society this whole idea of tactical, like what you were talking about with the bags and some of the other things.
Tactical, baby.
I see a lot of veterans with those bags, which it makes perfect sense. We're the ones who probably developed them, brought them to market. So yeah, dude. Tactical. You know, I mean, me personally, I don't get into the idea of like tactical in a civilian setting. I want to be as concealed and clandestine as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want to not, you know, you're still walking around doing the hard target thing. Like I walk around with a baseball cap that has an AK-47 on the front, right? You know what I mean?
I do.
And you've got a pistol on the hip, but it's deep concealed, and you're a nice guy and all of this other stuff. But man, you pull that thing out and it is game time. It's like, it's just woo. That to me is more tactical. Like the more shit I can hide on my body in a John Wick-esque style. You know what I mean? Like John.
Right.
Let's pull some Keanu Reeves here. John Wick meets Neo in the first Matrix. Remember how many fucking guns he had? God, remember then he walks through the metal detector? Doo-doo.
Yeah. And then he's got the duffel bags full of fucking guns. Not duffel bags, yeah. Shit just went down.
Oh, yeah. Ugh. Dude, there's this new movie coming out called Dark Tower that I saw. Old boys rocking these 6-shooters.
Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is, though?
No.
It's a Stephen King book series. So
really?
It's one of my favorite book series of all fucking time. It's 6 books total. And the gunsling. See, here's the thing. The movie, they took lots of liberties.
Right.
And it's not like the books. I mean, the story, the premises, but basically the gunslingers, it's from like an alternate world. So, and we'll go into this just because it's part of our cool shit that we talk about anyway. So alternate world.
Sure.
But still kind of linked to us on Earth, right? It's like an alternate universe and Earth time. It's somehow hooked in and stuff, right? Well, the gunslingers are basically the law keepers of the old world, I guess you would call it, right?
Yeah.
And they're set up, they were gunslingers. Well, they're like knights, but instead of using swords, they used 6-shooters.
Right. It's badass.
Right. And so there was a high kingdom.
Yeah.
And they were like the security / ranger / law enforcement of this high kingdom. And yeah, man, they're fucking badass with the gun. Like if you read the first book called The Gunslinger, when they talk about him in a gunfight, Stephen T. King does an amazing job, and the way that he like reloads, and it's badass, bro. But anyway, you saw like him sliding, and there's like rounds flying in the air, and him catching them with the gun and slamming that shut and going to town.
Oh,
so But see,
It was
so
fucking gnarly. Made me want
it's
to buy a
gnarly.
revolver.
Right. So we'll see how the actual movie is. The main character, though, is in the books. He's not black, which who gives a shit? But I'm just saying, imagine more like a Clint Eastwood type of character. That's what's on the books. Like if you look at the cover art, the guy's more like a Clint Eastwood type character.
Oh, I thought they did a great job with. I'm terrible with actors' names. All
right, so the Man in Black, who's the main bad guy, Matthew McConaughey is the perfect. He is the perfect fucking fits the bill of the Man in Black for sure. Perfect casting.
Yeah.
So but actual Roland, who is the gunslinger, on the books is more of a Clint Eastwood.
I'm totally gonna watch that movie. That might be one.
Dude, I'm telling you, you might actually, you would probably enjoy reading the books, believe it or not, considering what we're talking about doing with fiction and things like that.
Right.
That shit will get your brain going, bro.
Well, and that's the other reason why on this episode, my brain went towards, and more often than not with these topics, we have a list of topics, or we'll just be like, hey, I was thinking of this earlier. Let's talk about this, right? Writing pieces of fiction, and I had mentioned this before, and I've spoken with other veterans about it also, and this is why I brought up us or our uniforms, clothing, appearance, what have you, that has started to become more and more prevalent within our popular culture and overall American society. I've kind of started nibbling on a piece of fiction that I've written where it's almost like a Red Dawn scenario, where you're a veteran, who's out in town with his daughter. And then basically it's like an adventure, of course, don't get me wrong, Wolverines, but it's along the way, you're finding other veterans, throughout this story, throughout this dialogue. And finding other veterans means basically take like a snapshot at a moment in time. Because when something happens, every other plan is out the window, right? So now Spetsnaz just landed in the middle of the mall, and you have to identify the other veterans that are around you, essentially. That's where my brain went, right? Because I always play tactical decision games. And so when I'm out and about in public, I'm like, okay, if shit goes down right now, who are the other guys that are going to help? Like, I don't walk into a room and size up other dudes. I think about if there's an active shooter situation, who are the other people in this room that might be able to help me gun down whoever the bad guy is? That's where my brain goes. Right. Maybe it's fantastical. I don't know. But I say it that way because in popular culture, I drawn out these different like human aspects the way that we do in identifying, who's who kind of as we're navigating through the world. And it's interesting because in movies nowadays, we're starting to see, like, I started looking at Dark Tower. I thought that was awesome. There are a bunch of other action-oriented, adventure-oriented. Of course, we had the superhero, which is big in popular culture, but they're drumming back out a lot of the old Western-style stuff, and they're bringing in... Yep. Like, people want more of a fantastic story, and when they get their reality, so to speak, like Dunkirk is a fucking tragedy, okay?
Yes.
If you like, I remember watching Tombstone when I was a kid, the old Western, but I also, of course, Enemy at the Gates, which Enemy at the Gates is just like bloodshed and fucking death and all of this other stuff. I mean, that's a goddamn tragedy. That does not get you pumped up to go to war. I'll tell you that much right now.
No.
You know what I mean? So the reality movies that we're seeing, or those that are based on true stories, are becoming much more realistic in the tragic sense. We're no longer glorifying those events that took place, but now the creative side of pop culture in this adventure realm, right, where we're going with it, has become even more extraordinary. Let alone like the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Or Rogue One is on Netflix now, for fuck's sake. What is it?
Just watched it the other night.
Yeah, I've watched it 2 or 3 times now, just because I'm picking up on the different nuances, and I'm a geek for that shit, because I knew that they were closing the loop with it. And I didn't go out and see it in the theaters, for fuck's sake. I mean, Jesus. I have small kids and I work for a living. I don't go to the movies. Right. So anyway, I think that the movies are becoming more fun and more accessible in general and becoming more adventurous and all of these other different things. And thank God we're no longer glorifying the historical aspect of things. Because, I mean, even though I miss war, I don't miss calling 9 lines.
So did you read Sebastian Junger's book, Tribe?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Just wondering.
Yes. Very good book. And I highly recommend it to anybody and everybody.
So this is such a random fucking episode.
It is, but it's veteranhood and pop culture.
Yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to bring up about military gear and popular culture is that the majority of military gear is wicked fucking functional. And that's why it is.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not, you can wear it to do a lot of different things, especially if you're working shit, you know?
Yeah.
Just saying, just putting that out there. I mean, I'll throw on, you know, my tricolored pajama pants, as I like to call them, because that's about what they feel like.
Right. Oh, God.
And rock out some garden work. That shit's awesome.
Yeah.
I probably don't have a more comfortable pair of pants.
Yeah. Trousers, God damn it.
Yeah, I've got that
Pants.
and whatever. I don't give a fuck.
Well, your pantsuit.
I got your fucking pants.
It's like the mother-in-law wedding uniform. Just sit down, shut the fuck up, wear your beige pantsuit. You're going to be fine, right?
It's going to be great. Eat your filet and shut the fuck up.
Oh, God.
Here, we'll throw some cake at you later.
Not me. I'm wearing a tricolored tuxedo to my son's wedding. You're welcome, son. You're welcome. No, probably not.
I played EBV last night.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
It was good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was pretty good, man. Good, you know, it's the same every damn year, but it's really good class this time.
Nice.
For Syracuse 2017. Really good class of EBV folks.
Nice.
So a good smattering of businesses, not just like, you know, 12 of the same thing. Everybody's shit was different. So it's pretty cool.
Well, there you go. EBV is what we're going to talk about on our next episode. You're welcome, people. That's called foreshadowing. See what we did there?
Yeah.
Nailed it. Folks, you guys rock. And we're going to need to wrap this up here. I mean, pretty toot sweet. So I'm just throwing that your way. Now stick with me as I share a word from the sponsors, which are all veteran, by the way. And they're collaborative. Like, we work together, right? That's why they're sponsors. Not like they're paying us loads of dough, but we work together kind of a deal. So please pay attention, patron their establishment. Thank you. Huge thank you to Heroes Media Group, especially Adam Bird over there who's doing big things. The Heroes Media Group is big time. They're on the hood of a NASCAR, which might be in a video game, I think. There's all sorts of craziness that's going on. So check out Heroes Media Group. They're growing like crazy. They're doing all sorts of stuff. Help them out. Give them your feedback. I mean, we need this conversation together to grow together as a subculture. And what we're doing is catalyzing that military experience and taking it outwards. And so anyway, in that true sense, a huge thank you to Spartan Media, who has helped out a great deal. Jeremy Knopf is standing up his podcast in regard to digital marketing. He's hard focused on helping not only fellow veterans, but he's also got select markets. And what he does is helps brick and mortar and development style related, that is to say around construction especially, digital marketing resources, and, you know, frankly help support what have you in order to bring that brick and mortar, the development side, into the digital realm. And of course, a huge thank you to Will and Rick over at veteranslist.us. Veteranslist.us has, God, I want to say 190,000 veteran-owned businesses in their database now.
It's a lot.
I mean, it is. It really is a lot. And they're revamping things. They're going through changes all of the time. You know, it's kind of one of these things where it's like, thank you for sticking with us, because we have the gumption to continue to push the ball forward as veteran-owned businesses, so long as you continue to give us that feedback. And veteranslist.us is trying very hard to upgrade and push forward. Will's doing a great job. Rick's doing a great job. They're both very busy as well. They're both professionals. Anyway, just a bunch of cool guys. You guys can get a featured membership if you're a veteran-owned and operated business. You can get a featured membership on veteranslist.us, discounted 50%. That's half off by entering in discount code Cigars and Sea, same as our social media handle, Cigars and Sea, and you will get 50% off a featured membership membership on there. So thank you for doing so. All right, now it's time for me to turn the attention back over to Bennett. So thank you so much for paying attention there. Bennett, what do you have for a factoid?
So this is something that I didn't know until not that long ago. And I guess it totally makes sense. And maybe it was because, so maybe it's not a factoid to everybody, but I bet it's a factoid to some. Since we're talking about military equipment, the trench coat became the trench coat in World War I. Did you know that?
Like to wear in a trench?
Yeah. Like literally it was invented for the British officers, right? Because before that, all they had was that great coat. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The great coat with the weird, like that was literally the same piece of clothing for a couple hundred years.
Remember that scene in The Patriot when he's like, it's a horse blanket.
Right, exactly.
It's a horse blanket.
But it's not the most functional piece of gear, right? Especially in the trenches in World War II on the west, or World War I on the Western Front.
Right.
So they developed the greatcoat, which was basically one of the first big pieces of wet weather gear. Had big pockets to hold maps in it, and British officers wore them in the trenches. That's why it's called the fucking trench coat.
Wow. There you go. Well, that's why you stick around to the end. Because you'll learn something. See? We're all about sharing and caring, right? Am I right, class? That's what boot camp's like, right?
We're kinder and gentler.
Aw. I love your factoids. Keep them coming, Bennett. You teach me something. I mean, I always assumed the trench coat, but now I know.
But now you know. I mean, well, I was always like, never even thought about it. Why the fuck is it called the trench coat?
I figured that you would wear it in a trench. Or maybe whilst digging a trench. Or
something, but there you go. Now we know.
I think for a time I thought it would be perfect across the trench. Like, oh, hey, that'd be good, like a lean-to, like a shelter have.
Yeah, but like a greatcoat would work for that too. So Who knows? So the trench coat was because it was, it's not as hot. It's way lightweight, allows for way more mobility, keeps their uniforms clean, blah, blah, blah. It was multi-purpose, and had huge pockets. Like I'm looking at an old picture. We'll put it in the show notes.
It's a horse blanket.
Huge fucking pockets on the front of the coat for fucking maps and shit. Cool.
There you go. Thanks, folks. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Cigars and Sea Stories. Stick around, keep sharing, keep listening. Follow us on social media at Cigars and Sea. We love ya. And on that note, we cue the music.